Hi, today we are back with another Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous companion build video for unfair difficulty, and this time we are doing Ember. If you are new to the series and don't know how we do our builds, they are all made for unfair difficulty and none of them exploit bugs, so they should all remain viable despite any bug fixes or patches made to the game. It's also worth mentioning that all my builds are tested from early to late levels. They are not made just for the sake of YouTube videos. I do them firstly for my own unfair playthroughs, and it's very important to me that they are actually effective at every level in the game, so I can actually get through with my playthroughs and not just remain the helm of theory crafting. Because this is a turn-based system, but the game is real time with pause, sometimes builds don't go as I'd expect them, and that's why I think the testing is important, so I can both bring you the best builds and actually be able to beat the game on unfair difficulty, which is my main goal. With all that out of the way, let's get to our builds. Okay, so now that you can see what I got here and you are seeing those 10 levels of Eldritch Knight, martial weapon proficiencies, I'm gonna ask you to not close the video just yet. I promise this is at least okay. Maybe not crazy good, but it is okay. I did not go completely nuts when doing this. And yeah, Ember, let's see what we did with her. It's very refreshing to do a build for Ember right after WOTR. WOTR really doesn't get there in terms of magic damage, even though I think that is what Owlcat kind of intended for him, but Ember does amazingly well. She's very good and starts in one of the best classes in the game, Witch. So yeah, her first few levels, only things that are not great is the choice of hexes. Slumber is okay, but vulnerability curse, not very good. Still, everything else is fine. The choice of curse is good. Blackened adds good spells to her spell list, and Witch needs that a lot. Witch's biggest weakness is the spell list, which is not very good. Okay, so we get her at level 3, at level 4 we keep going Witch, level 5, Witch again, at level 4 we get a choice of Hex, I took Protective Luck, at level 5 we get a Fit, I took Spell Penetration. At lower levels Ember plays a lot like a support, because you don't have too many spells, don't have ways to overcome fire resistance, so you'll be mostly relying on your hexes. Especially Protective Luck you get at level 4, and Slumber when you can actually hit it. Here we are fighting undead, so you are unable to even cast Slumber, but Protective Luck is very effective. Here, as you can see, even when targeting flat-footed AC, zombies have a very low chance of hitting our animal companion because of our Protective Luck. So even against an entire horde of zombies, our cat is able to tank for a long time. And when you are able to cast Slumber, you can, even on unfair, get some enemies to fall asleep, but mostly you'll be a support until you get Ascendant Element Fire at Mythic rank 1. And at level 6 we go Witch again and take Cackle so that we can extend our Protective Luck. Now at level 6 we stop being more of a support and can do some damage because we get to choose Ascendant Element Fire to bypass damage reduction. So we take our first multi-class into Cross-Blooded Sorcerer. Here we take Greater Spell Penetration as a bonus feat, and for Bloodlines we take 2 Fire Draconic Bloodlines. We have a choice between gold, brass and fire. You can take any two of those three. The reason are the Bloodline Arcanas. Whenever you cast a spell with fire damage, that spell deals +1 point of damage per die roll. And those stacks, so now it's almost as if our fire spells were innately bolstered. And that's all we wanted for Sorcerer, so we go back to Witch. We also take, that was our 7th level, so we also take Spell Focus Evocation. By this time, you also really want to look for the Fire Salamander ring. I think you can buy it at level 6. So go after that ring because it adds a lot of good stuff to your spell list. Then we keep going Witch until we get to level 8 in Witch. Here we take Evil Eye. At level 8 it's a -4 to enemy AC, ability checks, attack rolls or saving throws, whichever you choose. And at the same time we take Martial Weapon Proficiency as a feat. Now with this feat we are able to go into Eldritch Knight for the next 10 levels. Then this is going to be our 10th level. We go for Eldritch Knight, take Weapon Focus Ray as a bonus feat. And yeah, we keep going, just Eldritch Knight. Here we take Greater Spell Focus Evocation. At level 13 we're able to get Improved Critical Ray. The reason for that is because Eldritch Knight is a full BAB class, so we'll have a much higher attack bonus than usual. And the reason I chose Eldritch Knight is specifically the basic attack bonus. On Unfair, enemies have a very high AC even when you are hitting for touch, and Eldritch Knight is gonna help us get some hits in where we wouldn't be able to otherwise. We also get some feats earlier, like Improved Critical, which is a very nice increase to our average damage. Then we get Improved Initiative as well in our Eldritch Knight bonus feats. We here take Elemental Focus Fire, Greater Elemental Focus Fire, and at level 18 we are able to take Greater Weapon Focus Ray. We are able to do that because Eldritch Knight levels count as fighter levels for feat prerequisites. And at level 19 we take our last Eldritch Knight level, gaining the Spell Critical, an amazing feature. Whenever we hit a critical hit, the next spell is Swift, so basically a free quicken for some spells. And at level 19 we also take Metamagic Bolster. Here you can see I only chose one Metamagic. This is because of my playstyle. If you want to take more Metamagic feats, that's completely fine, but I really do love using Protective Luck, Cackle and Evil Eye as often as I can, and when you Metamagic a spell they become a full round action, and when you cast a full round action you wouldn't be able to Cackle to extend your Protective Lucks and Evil Eye. And because I use those features so much, I believe they provide amazing utility, and Evil Eye basically a 20% damage increased against the character with -4 AC to your party. I really don't want to spend too many actions casting full round spells. I want to spend as many rounds as I can casting Cackle. So that's why I took so few Metamagic spells. If you don't like using Cackle and Hexes, you can take more if you want. And the last level is just a Witch level. You don't really get too many choices here. But we do want that caster level still, so the last is Witch. Now for our Mythic levels, we start with Ascendant Element Fire. This is very important so we can actually do some damage because enemies have fire resistance, most enemies have, and this way we are able to get through that resistance. Then we take Spell Penetration Mythic. Because we take some multi-classes and are some caster level behind, this is going to be very important so that we don't miss our spells because of spell resistance. Then we go for the Abundant Casting Fit line. We take a break to get Last Stand. Again, Last Stand, if you have seen my builds, I recommend you take it on every build for unfair difficulty, and I think the best levels to take it is around Mythic rank 5 or 6 for backliners. If you are frontliner, you want it at least before Mythic rank 3, I'd say. Then we go for Elemental Bloodline Fire. Here we are around level 17, if I'm not mistaken, 16, 17, and we start to get some spells that are good but are not fire element spells, and that's the reason we take Elemental Bloodline Fire, because it allows us to convert any elemental spell into fire. The most notable one is Storm Bolts. Then we go for Greater Abundant Casting, the next level, later Weapon Focus Mythic, Ray, and I want to talk a bit about those last two. Unfortunately, Improved Critical Mythic is not working for Rays, so here you really should take something else. You can take Point Blank Shot Mythic for +1 to hit, and Elemental Barrage is going to be amazingly good with an item you get in Act 4 called Aspect of the Asp. It's a necklace that allows you to do acid damage with your ray spells. So this way all of our ray spells are going to do fire damage plus that extra acid damage, meaning 2 elemental types in a single ray spell, with Elemental Barrage triggering for every ray we cast. This is going to be a lot of extra damage. Unfortunately, that necklace is currently broken and does nothing. So I left it here in case it gets fixed in the future. This is going to be an amazing combo, but currently it doesn't work. So you can take anything else you'd rather have here, Inspirational Leader if you don't have it with anyone else, or something around those lines. So for spells, we have a slow start. At our earlier levels, we are mostly a support, using our Slumber Hex and casting some support spells in Enlarge Person, Unbreakable Heart, and others. Though we can do damage against swarms with Burning Hands, and that's useful in some early game fights. At level 2 we get our first decent damage spell, Bone Shaker. This doesn't get affected by most damage resistance, it's not an elemental spell, as well as some nice supports in Glitter Dust, Blindness, and even Delay Poison. At level 3 there's nothing really useful besides some support spells again. Level 4, again just support spells, and that's most of the witch's spell list. That's why going after items such as the Fire Salamander Ring is so important. At level 5, we get Fire Snake at least, but nothing else notable. You can see here I have Cone of Code, but this is because of a ring called Boreal Might you get later on and can be a nice substitute for Fire Salamander. At level 6, again Cold Ice Strikes because of my ring, but we get Hellfire Ray. This is a very important spell and our main source of damage. We also get some nice supports. Level 7, we get Chain Lightning, which we can turn to fire damage once we get second Bloodline. Again, we get a second Hellfire Ray. I don't know if this is a bug or why we have a level 7 Hellfire Ray. This comes from our Blackened Curse. I'm not sure if this is a bug. Let me know in the comments, but I mostly just use the level 6 because I know this is not a bug. And we also get Ice Body, nice support, and Umbral Strike, a decent spell, though Hellfire Ray and Chain Lightning are much better. Here I met the magic the wrong fire ray. I should have done it with the level 6. Okay, then, but here we get Storm Bolts, one of our most important area spells. It's a Fortitude save, which in my opinion is much better than the more common Reflex save for evocation spells, and has a very strong effect in stun. Not many enemies resist stun, and also it deals damage in d8s instead of d6, which is the most common. So a very strong spell. You can turn this into fire with your elemental bloodline fire, and then it just does a lot of damage, 20 d8 plus 2 damage for each of those 20, so plus 40 because of our cross-blooded draconic bloodlines. Also, Polar Ray is given by the ring, Boreal Might. It's not in your spell list. And at level 9, I took Foresight. There's nothing too good. I'd rather just use the meta magic damage spells here as our 9th level slot. Equipment, there's a ton of good stuff for casters in this game. Headband, we just do a +6 to Charisma, increases our saving throws. Oh, I also forgot to mention, but our ability points, I put all in Charisma to increase our saving throws. Our 2 hits are already doing fine because of our Eldritch Knight multi-class. Here we have a ring, just a +1 side to attack. Sorry, not a ring, glasses, +1 side to attack. Cloak of Carnage, +1 to the DC of your evocation spells. Ring of Pyromania, just a bit extra damage to your spells. Here, Ring of Boreal Might, this is where those cold spells were coming from. They are not from the Witch spell list. I think this is very important for your build. Here, Ashmaker is a super nice staff, +2 to both attack rolls and caster levels. Because we are cast level 18 only, this is what allows us to get our 3rd ray with Hellfire Ray. This is what allows us to get the full 20 d8s with Storm Bolts, among other things. Aspect of the Asp, this is the necklace I mentioned is not working. There's nothing else I think is worth mentioning for necklaces, but once this one starts working, your ray spells will do acid damage on top of the fire, and you'll be able to trigger elemental barrage with your ray spells. This is going to be a very big game changer for casters. Here we have Call of the Fury things. This is Act 5 relic you can get from the Crusade battles. 46 extra fire damage, combos well with what we already do. -2 to enemy AC, also combos well with what we already do in the Evil Eye we have. So yeah, this goes really well with our build. Just a dexterity belt to increase our hit chance with rays. This also +4 to touch attacks, increase our hit chance with rays. And these boots allow us to do even more quicken spells. Here there's a nice book that can allow us to cast more spells, and of course regular meta magic rods, which are always useful for casters. To show you some combat, I'm gonna have my boar tank here a little bit while we get some hits in. I'm gonna turn Cackle on. I have Protective Lock on my boar and I don't want it to run out. So let's see how much damage we can do. I'm gonna open with a Hellfire Ray here. And you can see our hit chance is not bad, and that's mostly because of Eldritch Knight. You can see our base attack bonus at a 14. We have greater weapon focus and greater weapon focus, both giving +2 because of the Mythic weapon focus. I also cast Heroism Greater on myself, and a lot of nice bonuses. Our damage is not bad, even when we don't get criticals. We get bonuses. Here is from our Call of the Fairy Things shirt, and here's from our Pyromania ring. A lot of extra damage, and we have some swift action spells that we don't even need to quicken because of Ring of the Boreal Might. We can use them. They turn to fire damage because of the Elemental Bloodline Fire Arcana, which is turned on, and this way we can save our Meta Magic Bolster spells, which would be full round actions, for when we get criticals, and then the next spell becomes quickened. So yeah, just basic combat. Oh, here we got a critical, so now let's see a bolstered spell which should be quickened. So we should cast this before the round ends even. And so as you can see, even though our turn was not yet over, we were able to quicken that bolstered Hellfire Ray for extra damage. And this is just your regular blaster caster, aside from the Eldritch Knight pivot there. And I really like the Eldritch Knight pivot because it can add a lot of damage, allowing you to quicken more spells than you would be able to otherwise, and our damage is already high enough that I don't think we need much more damage pivots. So that's basically it for our Ember build. Let me know what you thought. Did you also consider going Eldritch Knight for her, or did you do something different like an Arcane Trickster? I'm not a fan of Arcane Tricksters because it is bugged and it does add sneak attack damage to all rays in this game. So it does a lot more damage than it actually should. That's why I'm not a fan of the class. But I do think its chances to hit are too low for unfair difficulty. There will be bosses that you will only be able to hit on a 20, even with help from your party, with things like Guarded Hearth. You won't be able to hit reliably. This build offers a lot of utility with hexes, on top of a very decent damage and reliable damage because of our nice chance to hit. So, until the next video, I hope you have a good time.